Welcome to Prasad Pod. I'm your host, Jarrell Prasad.
And I'm Paul Campbell.
How you guys doing? It's been pretty exciting times we're living in here lately. A lot of things have been going on in the world, especially with crypto. We're going to start off a little different this episode. We're going to talk about XRP and what's been happening with Crypto Week. Not saying we told you so, but we told you so. Crypto Week is kind of magical. It boomed. The Genius Act got signed into law, and the House passed the Clarity Act, and it's kind of going back and forth with the House and the Senate. But XRP price hit all-time highs.
Yeah.
Went up to what was it? 355 was the highest.
366.
366, yeah, 366. So a lot of people are taking profits, a lot of people are dumping off. Also, a bit of news, some 14-year-old cold storage wallet just sold off $9 billion worth of Bitcoin. You
Yeah.
know, so who knows if they're just like, I'm gonna take profits or if they know something that's coming. It's one of those Satoshi era wallets, but hey. If I got into Bitcoin early like that, would I have the patience to hold this long? Probably
Well,
not. I would have sold off some by now.
that one that held all of that Bitcoin, I think they tracked like when they bought in, it was only like a few $100s when they bought in, and it was over 10 years ago. Um, and that's crazy that they would hold in 10x everything the way they did, but it's like, I'm not so sure that Bitcoin, like, I don't know how it'll shake out. Like, it could be used as a store of value, but if all these laws go through, which they are, like Trump just signed the Genius Act on July 18th, uh, you know, if all these laws go through, Bitcoin doesn't really have like I don't know, like the institutional support that you think it would for like a payment system. Like there's who is Satoshi? Nobody knows. I mean, I think somebody knows, but you know, why would banks use that for transactions, which is what it was originally intended for? They could use it as a store of value, but then like I don't see it as something that can get regulated for its original intended use purposes, or not even necessarily regulated. I know it can't scale at its current level of technology that they achieved, like when they originally coded it. It can't be used as a payment system, so they're going to have XRP and XLM and HBAR and all these other coins that we're always talking about.
Yeah,
But I
those
that
coins
what
are gonna be basically like the rails to move money. But when it comes to the end of the day, it's all gonna be stable coins. Stable coins is the big,
yeah,
you
that's what
know,
the banks want.
yeah, it's the thing that's going to hold value. Like it's going to be one for one. That's what these real world assets are going to be tied to. They're going to be tied to the stable coins.
And
So
all they have to do is, and they're in the process of figuring out how to basically print them and include them into the treasury. So I mean, and it's all going to settle. The settlement mechanism of the payments is going to be XRP, and all these the banks are going to use stable coins because they want to use dollars because they know exactly what a dollar's worth on a day that they use it for a trade. But they're also going to have to use XRP to settle all of those transactions. And
yeah,
it's going to be running on the XRP ledger because all of these banks are partnered, with Ripple and using their XRP ledger technology. And I think that Bitcoin and maybe Tether, if all these regulations come in and Tether's not really regulated, kind of mysterious and have a lot of shady actions going on with them, and and I've heard it argued that if Tether goes under, it won't hurt the price of Bitcoin. I've heard the argument made that it could. But I mean, if the real banks and the real institutions are going to want to use the best version of cryptocurrency, and I think that Ripple, the XRP ledger, and Real USD, RLUSD are all for that to these banks. So we're looking at these. No, what did we do? Like, it was like a week or two ago that we last did a podcast, and we were saying Crypto Week's going to be so exciting. And what happened? XRP's price went up $1 or whatever it was, $1.50. So
yeah.
and this is just the start. Like they just passed one of the laws. They still have to do the Stable Act or they
Clarity.
did thank you, the Clarity Act. That's the one. We're still in the process of doing it. Imagine where we're going to be at by the end of the summer. That's going to be
So
really exciting.
I've been saying this whole time, August. August is when we're going to see it pop off. And you know, um, this coming week is August 1st,
Yep, Friday.
Friday, August 1st. And then, you know, I've been having a strong feeling like around August 15th, you're going to see like, the lawsuit finally completely settled. You're going to see the SEC drop their, action against Ripple. You're going to see Jerome Powell either step down or drop the interest rates himself. You're going to see that happen, and you're all this stuff's going to happen. You're going to see ETFs go live, and then that price is going to go from 10 to 50 to 100. I had a dream a while back that it went to like $235. I was dreaming. I was telling my wife, "Hurry up, we gotta transfer money to the exchange so we can, or we gotta transfer our XRP to the exchange so we can pull out some money and cash out because the price was just going up. It was like 235, 150, 260, 120, it's
Yeah.
like fluctuating like how Bitcoin fluctuates like between the thousands. It'll be
Hmm.
18,000, 118,000 to like, 115,000. Yeah, you'll kind of see that kind of price action with XRP. So, I mean, we're in for a higher highs and lower lows. So just be excited. I've been saying for a while, August, Paul, you think November might be the time frame because last year, November, we went from 50 cents to, $2.89.
Yeah. I I think it could very well could be August, and it's looking really good for August that there could be some movement. But I'm like a little bit more pessimistic than you, I guess, in this regard, because
Yeah.
I think that it's gonna, they're gonna have a little bit of runway for the banks to get in, and I think that as the time goes on, there's gonna be a flip of the switch moment. Maybe, and or we could both be right. Like if the lawsuit ends on Monday, right? I don't know anything. It could not. But let's say it does, and then that sends it to $50, and then the finally the clarity, all the laws are passed, and all this sort of stuff happens in August too,
Yeah. And don't
and they
forget the rate cut.
and the rate cut, which would potentially be Tuesday, and Trump has really been putting a lot of pressure on Jerome Powell, so. I would be really surprised if he didn't cut rates because that's basically asking to get fired because Trump has said he will fire him if he doesn't. So all eyes will be watching the Tuesday press conference of Jerome Powell. But yeah, rate cuts, the lawsuit ends, laws are passed, boom, 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 and then it goes to $100. That's not outside of the realm of possibilities now. And I'm surprised that Bitcoin, with all this good news, Bitcoin did hit a new all-time high, 123,000, but it didn't hit 150,000 or 200,000 like people have been talking about, which is kind of surprising, especially with these laws going through. We
Yeah.
were really excited to see XRP go up, so that makes you think maybe the smart money is betting on XRP to be the best impacted by these laws. But I was kind of surprised to see how quiet Bitcoin was. Like it didn't really do anything nuts like you would think it would do, right? With all this hype that's going on.
Yeah. So far, all the altcoins have been performing really well since Crypto Week. And uh, HBAR went from like 16 cents to, I think it hit 31 cents today.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, and XLM went up from like 24 cents to like 55, almost 55. No, like 50 cents, 50,
Yeah, I
51
think
cents.
it touched 50.
Yeah, so I mean, those are doing pretty well, and I have some XLM and some HBAR as well, and I was happy to see those, and XRP does their 50 to $100 run, then you could actually possibly see HBAR and XLM do $5 or $10 easily.
Oh yeah, because they're all tied. They're all utility tokens. Those are the ones that have the best partnerships, that have, real business people wearing business suits making deals with other business people. It's not just some project that came out of somebody's garage. Those are real heavy hitters. And Google has partnered with the Hedera Foundation that runs HBAR. in the same way that you have all these banks partnering with Ripple. And I know XLM has a lot of really interesting partnerships too. So you can see that right now, like put it this way, people, I'm, we're both, a little bit older here. We're middle aged, not to out you, Jarrell, sorry, but like, I'm almost 40. Jarrell's almost 40 as well.
I'm actually 40.
Yeah, I know. But but we remember back when the internet first came out, you had to type in the exact .com you wanted. Like there wasn't any Google or Yahoo even back then. You
Yeah.
had to know the website and go to it. It was all open for anybody to go to. That's kind of like what the cryptocurrency world is right now. That it hasn't really kind of the good news is it's all out there. It's undeveloped land, but you don't want to live in undeveloped land. You want to wait for the real estate developers to get in there and build the house for you to move into, right? Most people would do that. Some people who are entrepreneurs might want to buy it, but the average person, the consumer, and let's be honest, the real adoption, you know, with everybody, with the United States population, the biggest economic market in the world, if they're gonna start using this, whether it be business or on the retail side, they're gonna want to know how to find stuff, and it's really hard to know what you're working with these days. And I do look at that funneling of information going towards Google, going towards Bing. That same thing's going to happen with the crypto market, with XRP, with XLM, with HBAR, with all of these utility tokens. People are going to use those because they're the best. They're easy, they're simple, they work with my phone, they're done. It's like when people will show me a coin or a project or something, and I don't know anything about it. They could be doing some really exciting stuff. Like if you're a good computer programmer, anybody can whip up a cryptocurrency. My buddy did it and showed me how easy it is to make cryptography. He did it with Linux. He said, "Yeah, I can spin up cryptography very easily." I was like, "Great, but how does that work on my phone and help me buy a cup of coffee?" And the way that does it, it has to be a seamless transition into the new system. Fortunately, we all have our phones, so that's your foot in the door if you're a finance agency like Ripple, like a tech/finance agency. But they're going to want to use something like a Google, like a Yahoo. They're going to want to use Ripple. For payments, and they is the consumer, whether it be banks and institutions or just people who use XLM on their X account or on their Facebook or whatever. That's coming, and we're right now, right before what I explain to people is all the laws are getting passed now, and the real revolution was Windows 95. That's when everybody got their home computer, right? So I'm talking about another iteration of once the internet comes along and there becomes like an information, funnel that people go to because it's reliable and good at finding what you're looking for and being a search engine. That's going to happen. That's going to be the second iteration of the crypto market maturing and becoming adopted. So I'm looking forward to that. But we're so early. Windows 95 is about to be released, and that's the laws. That's the first iteration of the leg up. In 10 years, these prices are going to be so astronomical. We're not going to know. Like, just don't sell. Always have a forever bag, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but financial advice, but not financial advice. But always have a forever bag because you don't know what it's going to be worth in 10 years. Because we're looking at 3, 7, $10 here in the next 6 months. I mean, who knows once you've got 10 years of regulated usage, what's going to be possible, then. But for now, it's totally reasonable to say it can go to $100 in the next 6 months. I don't think there's anything crazy about saying that based on what we've been looking at.
Jake Claver says it could go to 3,000 by the end of the year.
Yeah,
I'm all for that, good for the guy, but I
I
mean,
like his videos.
I like those videos, but yeah, I don't think honestly it'll go to like $3,000 by the end of the year.
Well,
I would
if
love
they
for
have
it to
access
happen.
to the derivatives market, if Ripple has access to the derivatives market, which they do through Hidden Road, and they get fully regulated, they have to become a bank and all this sort of stuff, which can take. They applied for like a master account with the Fed,
Yeah.
so I think like that can take 18 months to do, but. I mean, if you're smart money, you see that it's moving in the right direction, that sort of thing is happening. Why wouldn't you buy it and pump our bags? Because we were here early. I could, and not to mention all the ETFs are going to have to buy and back their XRP ETFs with XRP. So if they have $1 billion ETF, that's going to pump our bags, you know? So these things are coming sooner rather than later. Like the years of, I remember I got in as soon as the lawsuit had started, like actually like a month later. That's when I started buying. And that to me was validation that this is going to be the future because the government has to get its taste, you know, that always tries to wet its beak. So I saw what was happening. You know, Tesla got sued, you know, all Google got sued at one point. All these mega companies, Apple got sued. They all got sued. And if the government sued Ripple, that to me said, oh, I'm on the right path. And right now it's about to end. Like we're this close, like to the very, very end of the
Yeah,
I should say the end, the beginning of the beginning is actually a better way to put it instead
yeah,
of the end. The end of the lawsuit is the beginning of the beginning.
yeah. So I mean, we're about to enter a new era, new age, a digital age, and the world knows, and all these big institutions and companies, they're adding XRP reserves. They're stocking up. It's not just the
They're
U.S.
going
government that's creating crypto reserves. The Fortune
the
500
government
companies are creating XRP reserves.
well, the government's about to announce their crypto reserve holdings. So the thought is that if they announce that they're going to hold billions of XRP, obviously that's going to be really good news. So that's going to get announced soon as well. So that's something else to keep your eye out for.
Well, I mean, when they do that, they should also announce that they're going to have at least 125 million XRP from the settlement.
Yeah, I don't know. Brad Garlinghouse, the Ripple CEO, offered to pay the fine, the SEC fine in XRP, but they already gave him the cash money, so they've held it separately in an escrow account with the intended purpose of giving the SEC 125 million. Um, but hey, if they paid it in XRP and that was it, and then Trump just took it, that would be great. I mean, I really can't wait for the next couple of months because it's this is what we've been waiting for, and it's happening in real time. And we hit new all-time highs. When they all said we couldn't do it, we did it, right? And we're getting validated in real time. Every day there's some new news. There was I sent you an article. There was the Federal Reserve of Atlanta had an article that they wrote and produced that's, you know, somebody had released into the XRP, ecosystem where the Atlanta Federal Reserve was talking about XRP as a settlement mechanism. And so even the biggest banks of all are talking about XRP and acknowledging it. So they all see what's on the menu. They just got to buy dinner now, right?
Yeah.
And we're at that moment.
Yeah. So, this all happens on God's timing. It's not our timing. So, when it happens and it takes off, I hope you're in. Hope you got in early. Hope you've been listening to us. We've been talking to you since last year now.
Yeah.
So
Almost 50
hopefully,
cents.
yeah, hopefully, you got in. It's still not too late, in my opinion, to get in. So get in right now while the getting's good, and then it'll pop off. And which we can segue into our next topic. We just want to get a little more spiritual here today and talk about uh, you know, uh, some good old-fashioned Bible talk. And I had this dream the other day that God was talking to me and telling me, that the world needs to pay attention to Mount Sinai because Mount Sinai is where Moses received the Ten Commandments from God, where he touched down in a whirlwind and, he carved out of the rock, the Ten Commandments. And for some reason there, it's like you can't go there. It's in Mount Sinai. It's supposedly in Iran, and you can't go there. And also Mount Hermon, where the angels fell from heaven, the Watchers, and descended on earth. They descended on Mount Hermon, and
And the
there,
transfiguration happened there too.
in the
Don't forget.
Transfiguration of Christ, yeah, where he took Peter, James, and John, and he went up, and he also had a transfiguration where he met Moses and Elijah, and God declared that this was, his son, and he's the Lord, and for some reason you can't go there. It's like fenced off by the UN, and I think all these religious sites in the world have, great meaning. Like when in the Bible says when Jesus comes back, he's supposed to touch down on the Mount of Olives. His foot's supposed to he's supposed to set foot on the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. And I think a lot of these things are very significant places. Like God picks and chooses these locations for a reason. Uh,
Hmm.
for uh, for some reason, the place, the mountain where Abraham was supposed to sacrifice Isaac, uh, ended up being the same mountain or the same hill where Jesus was crucified, Golgotha. That was the same place.
Oh,
Isn't that?
really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't
That's
know that?
crazy. I
So
didn't know
yeah,
that. I'm pretty good with those sort of things. I didn't know that.
yeah, the place where Abraham was supposed to sacrifice Isaac was was the same place Jesus was crucified,
The place of the skull. Yeah.
which is also the same place that they said in the 80s that they found the Ark of the Covenant. So the blood of Christ dripped from the cross down to the Ark of the Covenant and landed on the mercy seat.
I've heard of that as well. Yeah, and I do think that there's something to like specific areas being important for some reason, just certain geographical, like there's just hot spots, so to speak, whether they be spiritually, electromagnetically, like there's just something going on in certain areas, like where the pyramids are,
Yeah,
that
because
where
I mean, why do all the pyramids that appear all over the earth line up perfectly with Orion's belt?
and ley lines of electromagnetic
Yes,
activity.
ley lines. That's
Yeah,
exactly what we're saying. There's a lot of uh, electromagnetic ley lines and a lot of spiritual ley lines, where you see things happening like why was Jesus born in Bethlehem? You know,
yeah.
um, you know, it's crazy how these things add up. Like, how long were the Hebrews enslaved in Egypt? Do you know?
Wasn't it 40 years?
400 years.
400. Yeah, I knew it was a four.
Yeah, 400 years. Here's another kicker. How long were uh, African Americans enslaved in America?
Oh, for 400 years?
Exactly. Is
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, okay.
that a coincidence?
Well, I've heard there are some people who have made the argument that the black people are the original Israelites and that they escaped from Jerusalem into North Africa, and obviously the
Yeah.
locals didn't want them there, so that's why they shipped them. That's why they got picked basically to get put on the slave ships and this sort of stuff. Which oh, sure, maybe I don't know. I wasn't there, but like I think that I think there's a lot of things that when they say history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. I think there's that, but I also think in a way like um there's a lot of I don't know synchronicities that happen that are really interesting that you really want to keep an eye on. Um, and of course, I'm blanking on them,
Yeah.
like
But
9/11.
crazy.
Well,
Like,
yeah, go ahead.
listen, like, if you listen to, uh, so like from 1930 or 1920s, how technology has changed from like 1925 to 2025 in that 100-year time span. How we went from no airplanes to, space shuttles supposedly flying to the moon,
Well,
the
I think
technology we have, fighter jets, stealth bombers,
yeah.
with that, boom in technology within 100 years, think about what they have back since they got expelled from the garden and the fallen angels came down in man. Between the time the fallen angels descended on earth in the days of Jared to Noah, it was like 1,000 years.
Yeah, think of
So,
what they could have done with all that time.
and not only was it 1,000 years of time to go from, you know, just like cave fires and cave dwelling to, cities, but they also had knowledge from heaven,
Hmm.
forbidden knowledge imparted to them, and they had beings of supernatural, abilities presenting that to them. So, yeah, the ancient world has more technology and had, you know, I mean, because there's architecture and craft. Like people, they don't really know how the pyramids got there, but it was built
And
before the Egyptians got there.
not only that, the pyramids go down 2 kilometers, and then they found a whole nother what appears to be like a city underneath of it.
Yeah,
And it's how is that possible? And with this new type of radar, which got people said, no, 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 that's not true. And then they ran another test, and it's even more magnificent than they had even originally thought. There's no possible way that little hobbits like us could have possibly built that. It had to have been built by giants, by people, by Nephilim, whatever you want to call them. The farther back you go, the more advanced it was. We've been getting less advanced as we go. We humans have been getting smaller as we go because we humans used to be much, much bigger, and they don't want you to know about that.
the
But yeah,
antediluvian man.
yeah, basically you've just been for what it's worth, the Quran says that Adam was 33 feet tall. Now again, it's Quran, so whatever. But like, um, the it doesn't the antediluvian argument makes perfect sense to me. And whoever controls the knowledge are the people in charge. Because if you know how to levitate things, if you know how to make things fly, if you know that if you do certain rituals that emote certain feelings out of people, it can control the way that they think, and it has to be done on certain dates and at certain times for, I don't know, because that makes the spell stronger. You're going to control everything. And this secret knowledge is coming to the forefront. And like that's why there's going to be this tearing away of the old way. The new world order is what they called themselves. No, we're actually going to the old world order. I think we're going to move towards truth, and reason being the way that people live. Because especially if they fix the money, if we have all these cures and we continue to fix things the way we have been and improve, then it will be a getting rid of the chaff, and then we're going to have the wheat in our barn. So, but we only got 2 minutes left. So, did you have anything you wanted to close with?
Yeah, so we can just wrap up by saying, stay vigilant, stay in the Word of God, read your Bible every single day, and we'll have a more in-depth conversation about this later. Keep tuning in if you're interested in this kind of topic, let us know in the comment section. And we could keep more of this coming. We could t talk theology, for hours
And
between
ancient
all of them.
technology.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we want to thank you for joining us again. We'll see you in the next one. I'm your host, Jarrell Prasad.
And I'm Paul Campbell.
Have
Peace.
a good one.